Ladies and gentlemen, Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell reunite once again, this time in Daddy's Home 2. Stay tuned as we dissect it right here on Anatomy of a Movie.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, is the dynamic duo of Demetri Panos
Hey, movie fans.
and Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, sure. Another Bostonian.
There you go. Two Bostonians talking about...
Three. You're from the East Coast. You're from...
where's
you went to
three?
school in Boston.
There's
That's
only
three.
two of us.
Well, but Mark Wahlberg. He's
enough.
here in spirit.
I'm Phil Svitek, and we're talking Daddy's Home 2 right here on Anatomy of a Movie. If you're joining us for the very first time, welcome. We assume at this point that you've seen the movie, so therefore, this is your spoiler warning. If you're returning, welcome back. This is a sort of a new take for us because we're gonna do a review. It's a mini review. We're not gonna go as in depth as our normal shows. So if that's what you were expecting, we apologize. Hopefully you'll enjoy it nonetheless.
Sure.
But anyway, let's start with overall impressions for this movie.
Well, you know, Phil, I got to be honest. I went into this movie with somewhat low expectations. Yeah, I felt the first Daddy's Home, albeit watchable, not particularly fantastic. I felt that the funniest parts of the movies of that movie was showcased in the trailer, and that sort of kind of ruined it for me. At times, it was silly. What carried it for me was the chemistry between Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell, and at the end, it showcased some heart. But it wasn't never a movie that I needed to ever go back into the well, so to speak. But it's on cable. I watch it. So, again, going into this and seeing the trailers for Daddy's Home 2, the trailers were for sure entertaining, but I felt that I thought that I was gonna get bit by that same snake, where they're just showing me the funniest stuff here, and when I see the movie, it'll go off the rails again. And I was actually, by the end, I liked this movie. I liked it better than the original. In fact, I felt that it actually even succeeded where a movie like Bad Moms Christmas, which is sort of similar when you think about it. You know, we have family dysfunction. It's Christmas time, family members coming in. But to me, where Bad Moms failed as a comedy is that it took its greatest assets, which was its chemistry of the cast, and it separated them. But they work better together as a whole, and this movie didn't separate its greatest assets, which is Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell. They were together, and it was dealing with each of their respective
Harbors
coming in, and their dads coming in and doing this Christmas vacation kind of thing, which we'll talk Christmas Vacation a little bit later. So, but this movie was actually funny, and I think it was funny because of this chemistry that they've developed through the years of working together. In fact, I actually like that they weren't antagonistic like they were in the first one, where it was a competition. I like them better as friends. Like, they worked together. It was, and I appreciated that. They also bring in Mel Gibson and John Lithgow. Lithgow is great. He chewed up the scenery really well. He was a welcome addition. You can see him being Will Ferrell's dad. Mel Gibson, to me, listen, he was very interesting, and his role here can be dissected 6 ways to Sunday, I think. Not that we'll do all 6 ways, maybe 5 ways to Sunday here. So it was very interesting, considering today's current political and media climate, like the role that he chose to take, which his character is a full-on, unabashed womanizer. And I can't say that there weren't some parts where, albeit I might have laughed, but I did cringe a little. Only because of, and again, it's no fault of the movie, in which the time it was released, but it was just interesting. We can talk, we'll talk a little bit later about that.
I mean, it's also, it's who. I can imagine him being Dusty's dad. Like, that's who Dusty was. You know what I mean? So
absolutely. Maybe not to the effect, because I think part of the thing that Dusty wasn't necessarily his dad, because Dusty was sort of kind of around towards the end of the last Daddy's Home, and for sure now. but he didn't catch him to be a womanizer, so to speak. But, that's the other thing, too. Whenever I watch a movie like A Daddy's Home 2, or even A Bad Mom's Christmas, I can't help but think of the one true movie that gets the Christmas family dysfunction down perfect was National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And what I've learned is you can't out Clark Griswold more than the actual Clark Griswold. And there are definite hints in this movie of Christmas Vacation. You had the saucer sled ride. You had the cutting down of a Christmas tree, which that scene was actually sort of funny. The punchline to that scene was funny. There were many things that sort of kind of reminded me of that, which is unfortunate because Christmas Vacation is definitely a movie I see once, twice every year around this time of year. But this movie was still funny. I love the cast that came back. Linda Cardellini, she, yes, I admit I've watched Scooby-Doo, but she was the reason why. I love watching her. She's really fun. And she's great as a mom. I don't know. She just seems very comfortable in that role.
She played
so I like that. And, going back to Dusty and Brad, they're far funnier and likable as friends, I think, rather than enemies. And Daddy's Home 2 does leave the front door wide open for a sequel. So long as these families play together, I think they should stay together. Don't separate them. Don't make that move. I thought it had a very good. I like that. That was a twist ending. That Farrell's mom is going out with Sully, not the monster from Monsters Inc., but yet the actual pilot Sully. that was funny. That was funny to me.
Overall, for me, I enjoyed the movie overall, but there were plot holes that were so easily fixed and yet so unnecessarily unanswered that I was just left a little bit baffled. And by the way, I would love to see Mistletoe. I think that would be a fantastic movie, and I thought that was a great part to have.
Oh my god, it was so funny.
But I think overall, I just can't help but look at those sort of questions that are left unanswered, like the fact that that Dylan did, kiss basically his stepsister. That was kind of, where did that end up going? I thought as far as Sarah and Karen, Karen always writing the book, I felt that was never really resolved. Like, I get it, like, oh, she's writing a character about me, but like just the whole way that she would do it, it didn't. It set up in a strange way.
She seemed more like a psychologist than she was an author.
Yeah.
Like, a psychologist writing down. Yeah. I hear you. I agree.
And then I thought there was definitely, like, as far as Kurt was concerned, I felt he was so unnecessarily tough at times. And I get, like, if his true goal was to, like, he was just this overall mastermind that didn't need to be. I felt like, okay, just be a hateful guy of, like, wait, your kids, but, like, to be an orchestrator beyond that.
Right.
I felt wasn't part of his character,
Yeah.
or didn't need to be.
Yeah.
And then I loved seeing John Cena, but I don't think they fully utilized him to the best that they could.
Oh, I agree. He sort of came in. It felt more contractual than organic. It felt like, well, we gotta shoehorn him in here somehow because he was part of the end of the last movie. And you think that that's where this movie is going to go more towards, where, the tables are turned on Dusty's character. But it was almost as if, hey, we got Mel Gibson. What if we make this about the dads? And then, yeah, John, we'll have you come in a little bit later on. Yeah, I agree with you with that character. And I think he could have given so much more. Because he too has a great self-awareness of humor. Make fun of himself. Like that whole, this is my favorite song, Feed the World. That scene, as hokey as it was taking in that movie theater, a showcase movie theater in Massachusetts, by the way, it still was funny. It still worked.
Well, I've actually been doing some reading on this, and it's unfortunate that I didn't have this ready for the Marvel movies when we did Thor in particular just recently. But something I've been reading is that movies now a lot of times don't allow for quote cheesiness. The emotional factor always gets broken up by an inserted joke because for whatever reason people don't feel like the strength of the emotion is able to last, or people feel like it's too cheesy. And I think with a movie like this, when I examine Christmas Vacation, it's got its funny bits and so forth, but at the end it has a good message in its heart.
Absolutely.
And this, that's a beautiful sentiment at the end to play the song, get everybody together, or even say like, hey, I never told you, to Adriana, he was like, I love you, even, just because you're my stepdaughter doesn't mean I don't love you. I thought that was a beautiful sentiment. And when I look at it, how many times do they break it up with reaction from Brad?
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Of like, I'm crying. Well, it's like, okay, and I was laughing in the moment, but now I realize that as I'm learning more about like just structure and so forth, it would have probably been better just let it play on the emotion. Mm-hmm. It's okay. And let me actually cry as an audience member rather than showing me Brad who's fake crying.
Yeah, and it is a great point too that you bring up, because when you look at a movie like Christmas Vacation, you understand, as oafish as Clark Griswold can be, his heart is definitely in the right place. And that's what you latch on to. That's why the emotion works. And it's his plight of trying to get things done. And vacation is so important to him. And the family experience is so important to him. And that's why I caught these wisps of this going on here. But where they work so much better in Vacation, it's Clark's trying to make the bestest, biggest Christmas ever. Right? From putting the lights up on the house to the reindeers. And you sort of saw that here, but then they kibosh it to me by some silliness. Like the whole scene with the snowblower eating up all the lights. Okay, that's silly, and it doesn't really account for all the hard work that Brad put into getting this up. It just went on for a joke. That's what I felt sort of torpedoed the first Daddy's Home, was its silliness. I don't mind slapstick comedy, and they had some good slapstick here, but you got to care for your main character like Clark Griswold, so that when he does his pratfall, like you're like, ooh, like it emotionally resonates with you, and that's what makes it funny. Where if you're just throwing slapstick in for slapstick's sake, then it's just silly, and it doesn't. Comedy should reach you on some semblance of an emotional level. That's what makes you should relate to that character in one way, shape, or form. And to your point, things have changed. I think things in the comedic landscape have changed so vastly that you're right. They won't let things play out as much. You have to go to another shot. As far as cheesiness goes, I mean, look, the Naked Gun movies were predicated on cheesiness, but it works because you care about Frank Drebin. It's the same thing with Inspector Clouseau, right? When you're talking about a comedy. Over here, it pulls out the heartstrings. The last movie ended on a very, like a nice, feel-good kind of thing. And this one does too. But when you intersect it with some cheesiness, they just don't let you bond as an audience as much anymore. And I think they're more interested about the gag than they are more about the emotional heart. And
I do think that hurts it. Like, one scene, and let me know if you agree, I thought the thermostat scene in particular was one of the best scenes. Because A, I wasn't expecting it. Two, just the fact that they were all on the same page, with the exception of Dusty, who was just getting his ass chewed out.
Right.
But each had a different reason. Like, oh, might as well hand her your 401k. And like, they just everyone had their different reason, and they were just going for it.
Hammer. You're right.
And so that's what made it funny, because they were unwavering. We didn't stop to think about the joke. We just let the joke play. And it was, there was logic behind it in some odd way.
Sure.
It worked really nicely.
I agree. No, that actually was one of my favorite scenes in the movie too. And again, you don't have to be antagonistic towards one another. That's when our main cast got together as a whole, and the banter, the way that it worked, it was natural and it came across good, and they were together for the same cause with the exception of Dusty. And that's what I felt when you're together with the same cause, instead of like fighting or trying to pull things apart, that to me is when it worked better. You know, and my other favorite scene too, though, was and again, I think it even worked to an extent even more so than at the end, was the bowling alley scene with the kid bowling. And, you know, Mel Gibson, as womanizing as he was, but he sat down. And I believed when he was talking to that kid going, you know, people are going to knock you down all your life. You got to, you know, but you got to keep on getting up. You got to try. And the kid's rolling. He got the whole bowling alley invested into what he was going to roll next until it came to his last ball. And I was like, it would be too much if he gets a strike. Yeah. But all that mattered was the one pin. And when he knocked down that one pin, I was like going, yeah, good for you, kid.
Yeah, it was the right sentimentality.
And it worked great. You know, and that's where the movie had heart. We should focus more on that. It worked more than me. That scene worked more than when he kissed his stepsister.
Yeah, that was, I think that was a shock value.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't really expecting it at all and whatnot. But yeah, it's just overall now I see moments where they broke up the heart for the sake of comedy, and it didn't need to hit. Like even at the end, Kurt saying to Dusty of the line from Mistletoe, and he's like, we just watched that from Mistletoe.
Right.
It's like, okay, you know, like, it's okay. Like, it's okay to move the plot forward and not have to have those jokes as much necessarily.
Yeah.
But overall, you know, I did have some laughs. The more I think about it, you know, there are moments of like, you know, just for whatever reason, they're just absurd.
Again, I just found myself laughing at this movie far more than I anticipated. And again, in part, I have to say, you know, in part, it was because, you know, of Mel Gibson. We can go into it a little bit more, but, you know, there really is no denying that guy has an on-camera comedic charisma. You know, Gibson throughout his career has done so many different types of movies, whether he's been in front or behind the camera. You know, the Lethal Weapon movies always have, you know, predicated on action, but there are humorous elements in it. And, you know, and in part, you know, he's done movies like Bird and the Wire, What Women Want, which they're remaking, by the way. But, you know, he has a comedic sense. And it's the way in which he can throw out a line of dialogue that you'll laugh at. There's no denying that. And I think that it helped. And again, it just makes you remember, yeah, he can be a funny guy. But in John Lithgow, to see him in a movie like this too, allow him to just do what he does, like I enjoyed it. Again, the plot point with the divorce, I just sort of kind of thought it was a little unnecessary. It didn't, you know, the scene at the Improv was sort of funny, but it almost went on a little bit too long for me. Yeah. But, you know, I don't know.
I actually didn't mind that. I thought that was a true moment, and I appreciate, like, you could say it was a little bit forced, but I love that everyone sort of had dealt with divorce in one way, shape, or another within that. So I appreciated that. Overall, let's talk budget, because you know, as far as this came in at number 2 overall. Number 1 was, of course, Thor Ragnarok. It wasn't going to beat that. But number 2, so it made decent money. However, against a $69 million budget, not to mention the marketing, so quite hefty. And especially, we were kind of talking about that. You know, number 3 was Murder on the Orient Express, whose budget was production budget was only $55 million.
Yeah.
So when you compare that, like if you've seen both, this doesn't spoil Murder on the Orient Express by any means, but the money looks on screen, whereas this, like, you know, I'm not saying it was bad, but like, where did the money go?
Yeah, where did the money go? I mean, because again, we were just talking at the top before we went live here. It just goes to show you what a very talented director like Kenneth Branagh can do, along with his team. You know, and the gentleman who directed this, Sean Anders, he did like Horrible Bosses 2 and such. I mean, he's for these kind of movies, he's fine. But you're right, it's $69 million, which means at the very least, at a guesstimate, $100 million all in. Did the actors get paid a lot? As we're, it's possibly it's the only thing that I can think of, because Mark Wahlberg also produced the movie, as well as Will Ferrell. But I think I could have swore I saw Mark Wahlberg's name in an executive producer role.
He was an executive producer. Ferrell was producer. So,
and I don't know what Gibson's budget is, but I would figure, because here's the interesting thing: you're looking at Lithgow and Gibson. The other thing I appreciated, they were very comfortable in supporting roles. Like, this wasn't Mel Gibson and Daddy's Home 2, featured very much in the trailering, right, at the airport scene. But I don't know. It could have gone to the actors. It could have gone to back end. Production value-wise, it was fine. But it's, it
was a great house, but it wasn't like, it's just one set piece.
Yeah.
Overall.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. But the good news, it got an A- cinema score, up from the B+ that the first movie earned. So overall, people are touting this better than the first, although it only has a 17% on Rotten Tomatoes. So, huge disparity there between audiences and
I don't
critics.
understand that. I sort of kind of, did you say 17%? Did that go down again? Because
That's what I have.
Because I sort of kind of had it at 58, but I could be wrong. I could look it up again.
I'll do it now. But continue what you were going to say.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, personally, I found this to be a little bit funnier than the first.
I have it at 16.
16%. Yeah. Oh, 17. Yeah, 17%. Oh my God. Yeah, it's.
So it went down even further.
Yeah.
See what you did. We went down a whole point in 1 minute.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like I said, I guess I went in with a lower expectation, and it's really interesting because I went in with a higher expectation of Bad Moms Christmas, because I enjoyed the first one so much. So that one I went, and that high expectation, I got a low return. With this one, I had a low expectation, and I had a little bit of a higher return. But I think a couple of things I'd like to talk about. I think that are worth discussing about this movie. Did you find this to be a sequel worthy? Did you find the first one to be sequel worthy?
I didn't necessarily find it sequel worthy, nor did I find Bad Moms sequel worthy. But I also, to the same token, I was like, oh, okay, this is fine.
Sure.
I wasn't like, why the hell would they make a sequel?
Yeah, I
didn't think that at all.
I think it was predicated on dollars. I really do like Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell together. I mean, they were in that. I forget the other guys. I thought they were good in that, and I think they work well together. I wouldn't mind seeing them in other projects. Did you feel that the trail? Okay, we always talk about this in comedy. Sometimes the trailers just give away the biggest laughs.
I thought it didn't. For me, it didn't give away too much.
No.
I mean, they basically set up. Both dads are coming, but we didn't get the setup at all that they were all going to the same house.
I had no idea.
So there was plenty of left for me to be in awe of.
Yeah, I agree.
Here would be, for me, the interesting part was in Bad Moms 2, the moms go to Vegas. In Daddy's Home 2, the dads go to Vegas. I would love to see it cross over.
That would be great. That would be great. And I guess the next thing, too, I just sort of kind of wanted to talk about regarding Mel Gibson, right? In our current state of affairs, I wanted to ask you, does it seem as if, for whatever reason, Mel at this point has sort of kind of gotten a pass?
Listen, that assumes I know Mel's, like all I can go off of is what's been written about, how authentic it is or what it isn't. I can't say.
I mean,
so it's tough. Here's the thing. Because of the day and age we live in, the last thing I would want to do is comment on somebody and be wrong. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily my place.
But did it at any point in the movie? did you? I mean, like I said, there were parts that I wasn't like, ugh, I was so uncomfortable, but I cringed a little, especially when he told the little kid, yeah, just go up there and kiss her and then slap her on the ass and tell her, hey, good job or whatever. I'm like, oof, really? I'm like, and coming from Mel Gibson, forget about the part that he was hurt.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely tough, and I see your point. However, to the same token, I can picture many dads or grandfathers in that position, that have done that. I mean, that's the whole problem that we're in right now, is that people have been spreading that message of go there and slap her on the ass and say, I'm the best you've ever had.
Yeah.
So I think it highlights the problem, if nothing else.
Yeah, I guess it just seems it's an interesting to me, and I think I believe it's conversation worthy only because of the times that we're in. Because there's the word allegation has been used a lot, and allegation has up to this point ruined careers. It's I'm not going to say ruined. These people did it upon themselves, but careers are ended, done, for a good handful of people, pretty much, right? Gibson was caught on tape. It's not an allegation. He was caught on tape, on video, twice. Once with police officers, once with a woman. And the various things he said are very abusive. It's not an allegation. It's on tape. There were many people that said they would never work with him again because of anti-Semitic remarks. And yet, it just seems like he did Hacksaw Ridge, which we reviewed here. And I'm not saying it wasn't a bad movie, but he directs a movie, and then all of a sudden Hollywood's lauding him with Academy Award nominations. The Academy, which has just started they've kicked people out now. They awarded him with a nomination, and now he's being put in movies. He's allowed to direct. He's allowed, and it's just an interesting thing. Not that I want to get political, but when I watch him in the movie, I'm going, it almost seems as if, well, not almost, Hollywood has given him a pass, has given him we accept your apology, you've done your penance, but then the question becomes, well, what's penance and how long? So for Mel, he seems to be back in the game again. He's able to direct. He gets nominated for Best Picture. Now he's in a comedy with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg. He's eased his way back in. They're talking about another Lethal Weapon movie. So.
Anyway, I don't know. It's it's tough for me to comment on because I don't like being, I'm not the judge, the executioner, or any of this.
No, I understand it, but I don't know. And I only bring it up because of the current state of affairs that we're in today.
I get why.
It's so relevant in today's. Every day it just seems, allegation. So,
yes.
Anyways, so that's why I bring it up. If you felt that I was too political, it's just topical.
No, I get it. I get it.
That's all.
I just, I tend to stay away from,
I know, but we're talking movies. It's not like anything I say is going to change the world. It's part of the discussion.
Hey, Morgan Freeman would think otherwise.
Yeah.
Build your ark. One act of random kindness a day.
It could, yeah.
So that changes the world. Anyway, there's your positive message for the day from a completely different movie called Evan Almighty. Anyway, thank you guys for checking us out. Like I said, this isn't our full normal standard. We just want to make sure that we talked about Daddy's Home 2, and we'll do this with other movies, and we'll be testing out some things. So looking forward to that. Let us know what you guys think as we do so. And also, just in the meantime, in the here and the present, let us know what you thought of this movie.
Yeah.
Did you like it? Did you not? Did the trailers give away too much? What do you think
like
of
it
Mel
more
Gibson?
than the first one? Like I did. I found this more enjoyable.
I think a lot of people did. Yeah. But, hey, let us know. Either way. And if you've seen Bad Moms Christmas and you've seen this one, let us know what your comparison is.
And why is it so hard to make a good Christmas movie?
I really just want... Yeah, I think it's... Christmas movies are a little bit easier. Christmas comedies Maybe not so much. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because we've had Office Christmas Party, and that wasn't that great. And
It's okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard.
Anyway, to converse even more, support Demetri at DMovie1701.
Please do. Thank you. Yeah, it's always fun.
At Phil Svitek, and of course you can check out other Anatomy of movies that we've done. We also today we just did Murder on the Orient Express, so if you've seen that, check that out. We've done Bad Moms Christmas, so check that out. I believe we did Daddy's Home. Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did. We did do the first Daddy's Home.
I don't think you were here, but I did it with James Lott Jr.
Okay.
So.
I remember seeing it. I don't know. Could have things going on.
I think you were back home. Anyway, thank you guys as always. We've got Justice League coming up. Then we've got Coco. Then we've got plenty of
Star Wars, The Shape of Water, the Guillermo del Toro, Darkest Hours, the William Churchill, Gary Oldman movie.
We've got a lot of movies to close out the year.
Coming up. Oh yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Anyway, thank you guys as always. We'll see you guys next time. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of its owners or principals.